Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and boy, George, we're going to have quite a show today, and I'm sure that everyone's somewhat familiar with the politics that we're basically being confronted with during these particular times. And naturally, the presidential race is right there. I mean, we're going to, as far as I'm concerned, there will always be a presidential race throughout the rest of our lives. Let's put it that way. And there's no such thing as there will be a winner and then boom, everything is forgotten. No. There will always be someone running against one. There will always be somebody running for president of these United States. But from a local standpoint, that's still traditional, and it's still kind of like the same format aspect of it. Naturally, we got the primary now, and we got some major races that are happening with us at this point in time. We got the gubernatorial race that's coming up, that's huge, etc. And then naturally, from a local standpoint, we got our local races that's here, especially the city council. And that's a huge piece. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to have a discussion on the politics of from a statewide standpoint, and also from a local standpoint, and then whatever that comes up, kind of like throw some things on the table, some things that we might be interested in talking to. Race is always kind of an issue here in our state. We're supposed to be the racist state in the union, but that's kind of interesting. But we got some little things that we're going to throw on the table that we may want to address that piece aspect of it. My guess, you've seen these guys before. They've been around for quite some time. John, and in fact, he's our first-time guest. If I come to think about it, you got Bob Williams, first-time guest. He's only been here for about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah,
30 minutes.
Put some year behind.
Yeah, well, 30. That's right. 20 years or better. John Sweeney. John has been around for quite some time here with us here at the Voters Digest. But just recently, by the way, he was in the primary. He was running for governor of the state of Oregon, and I think that's kind of a neat deal. And he's been very, very active. He's run for office before. I think he said you said on the Educational Service District, right?
Multnomah Education Service District Board for 2 terms or 8 years.
Yeah, John did that piece aspect of it. He's always been involved in politics, whatever. I won't tell you that part is because they're on both sides of the fence. They're criticizing anything that sits at the table, but they're more swaying in the Democratic Party aspect of it. That's basically who they are. And then after sitting in this seat here, I'm a non-affiliated voter type deal.
Right.
Yeah. And then Bob laughs at that because
I think you're skating on that now.
Yeah. Right. But in all due respect, in the past I was a Republican aspect of it, and I'm now kind of like in the seat, kind of a neutral seat aspect of it to a certain degree. But it's okay. I mean, because the bottom line, when you get your ballot, you're looking for the person who's going to deal with the issues,
right? And
that's across the board. And I know these guys that fall in that same category. I fall in that same category also too. But in all due respect, I respect anybody that's looking at the show at this point in time. Hey, all you have to do is focus on one thing: what are the issues? And what are the solutions?
Right.
And you identify the candidate with the solution, and that's kind of like where it's at. And we've kind of like gotten to a point where the national race, for that matter, has kind of like brought us to the table here, and that's kind of interesting. We'll talk about that. It'll be another good topic we can talk about, the presidential race, because boy, I tell you, the situation between the R's and the D right now, the divide. And it's 50-50, and divide 50-50 along that particular line in many ways. But we're going to talk about it. I want to make sure we put that piece on the table. But let's start off with the gubernatorial race. Let's get that gubernatorial race aspect of it right now. And this is kind of like the year of the woman to a certain degree in politics right now, because we got the abortion situation right now. We got that deal that just passed from a national standpoint, and that's heavy. That's bringing a lot of women involved in politics and this general election. There's a lot of folks sitting at that deal, and so we got that, and then we've got the state, like I said, the governor's race. We got 3 women running for governor. 3 women running for governor. Now, if I missed their name, someone just pick it up at that point in time. We've got Tina Kotek.
Right.
She was a former, in fact, she was a chair, Democrat. She was a chair, and she was involved in this district here in the Portland area, and she's there. She's running. We've got
Betsy Johnson,
and we still won't know until she picks up that 25,000 votes to make sure that she's able to get on the list. Remember, that's still another issue. But she's running.
Right.
She's basically got the most money at this point in time. She's really advertising like she's right at the front of the line aspect of it. That's an interesting piece. And then we got the Republican woman,
Christine Drawson.
Christine Drawson, and she's running as a Republican aspect of it, and she's making nothing about from the standpoint that she's focusing and she's supporting former President Trump.
Right.
That's where she's at, and the NRA. I think the NRA. So anyway, there's some spice there, right there. So why don't we begin with that, and why don't we just go around the table and kind of get a feel for what you guys think about that gubernatorial race, and we're gonna have a focus. Let's focus on the lead person. I would say that the most senior person up there would be Tina Kotex,
Right.
Because she was chair of the Democratic Party, right? The Senate, not Senate, legislative.
She House of Representatives, she was Speaker of the House.
She was Speaker of the House. She was Speaker of the House. I would say she would be the senior person, and then from there it would be the senior person in the minority party rep, and would be the second person, and then Betsy Johnson, right, would be the third person. Okay, good. So why don't we start with Tina? What do you think, John?
I am not a fan of Tina Kotek.
Okay.
And I think and I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I think it would be a disaster. So I'm in favor of Betsy Johnson, and it's real interesting. If you look at it, you have Tina Kotek being pro-choice, anti-police, and anti-firearms, anti-freedom, and you have Christine Drazan, who is pro-life and pro-gun and pro-police, and you have Betsy Johnson, who is pro-choice, pro-police, and pro-gun. So
okay. Well, let's take Tina first. You made the point about the fact that you're not supporting her, basically. You listed 3 items.
Right.
Those are the 3 items before, and then were there any other things?
Well, it was
Pro-choice.
she's pro-choice, and I'm pro-choice, and she's part of the anti-police and the anti-firearms, anti-freedom, and because all the restrictions on firearms really affect you and I as law-abiding citizens, see, and the thing is that they talk about how bad it is, and the criminal element's only 2% of the population. Half of those are in white-collar crimes, tickly ivories on the computer and clean you out. Or the deal is and the other 1% in the physical crimes, 6 out of 10 are into stealing your stuff. They don't want to hurt anybody. So it's only 4% or 4 out of 10 of that 1%, which is less than 1 person in 200 that will do a physical harm to you, from picking your pocket to killing you. So they have all those people that are that small part of the people that would do harm to you. And the trouble is, when they get arrested and say they have firearms and stuff, all that is just plea bargained away. But sometimes, if that's all they got to stick you and I as citizens, that's all they've got. But so the deal is that more restrictions they have, the more dangerous it is for us. In fact, they had a strange deal in New Jersey. They had a home invasion. 3 guys broke into this house, and this woman fought them off and killed the last guy with the last shot. And she bought the pistol when they had a 15-round magazine limit, and then he changed it to 10. Well, it was clear self-defense. Well, they prosecuted her for having and using an illegal gun. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, the judge threw the case out. Of course, she lost her firearm and probably lost the cost of defense and stuff. But anyway, those restrictions just adversely affect people like us who are law-abiding citizens.
Okay, but let's think about that for a minute. I'm gonna throw this on the table, and the whole idea is that let's kind of figure out how we got to this divide, this major divide from the majority about the whole issue of guns. And what I'm thinking about that is that back when there was a limited number of guns, if you will, quote across the board, meaning hunting and this, that, and the other. That was fine. But then all of a sudden, there was this idea of a big promotion about folks being able to get weapons. And here we are today. Is saying that we got over 300 million people that are living, and then we got and as far as guns, you got about 600 million guns that are on the deal, and that's one reaction. And from a local standpoint, then all the shootings that we've been having, aspect of it, a lot of the folks who got guns. I mean, I'm talking about that particular, not the hunters, but folks who are basically breaking in houses and getting guns. They don't have to go to stores and buy guns anymore.
Right.
You can get them in the streets, or you can get them in the back of a car, or get them. And then the young people, in all due respect, nothing to do. So there they are. They're still. We were having gang warfare, rival gangs. Way back when folks were back and forth.
Yeah, we fought.
We fought, but the bottom line is that was knives or fists,
Right.
this, that, and the other. But now today, this gun thing that's basically what they're reaching, and that's how they're basically fighting. They're fighting with guns. So we got all those little components that are sitting up here on the table, and in all due respect, the leading force that was pushing that piece to get those guns during that particular time was not from the hunting standpoint, was the NRA. The NRA was kind of like the leading. I mean, they were very much involved in politics. I'm just saying, got me. And as you and I know, we've had some folks here that have been on the table talking to the whole issue aspect of it. But boy, I tell you, it's hard as hell to try to get the NRA to come to the table and get involved with and get involved. What I mean by getting involved, education about the whole issue.
Silence is golden.
Yes. But I tell you, they've got quite a lobbying force aspect of
Yes.
it. And I'm still saying that, hell, I'm a member. I mean, as a Marine, I'm a lifetime member aspect of it. But I've sent them letters and the whole 9 yards to try to get them to come on and say, look here, maybe some of the things you might want to consider doing is people maybe talking about gun safety and things like that, and getting in the community and basically turning in weapons, making sure that their weapons are legal, making sure that when they issue those licenses, that people go through a training program. And I'm just saying that the NRA would do that, and that's just kind of the thing we've talked about. But in all due respect, you can't get that leading component. Look, like Bob was saying, silence says most of that. So I'm throwing that on the table, and then I'm asking Bob, what do you think, Bob?
Well, it's a simple situation where, to me, when I'm gonna go back to the candidates in a second, but when you talk gun control, what is gun control? I own guns. Now,
No, we all do.
yes, and I'm an ex-Air Force,
Right.
and so I was taught to shoot.
Yep.
I was also taught responsibility.
Yep.
Don't point a gun at someone and guess you're going to use it.
Right.
I grew up on the south side of Chicago where the rule was, even though when I was growing up, if you have to pull your gun, shoot your gun. So we worked on not pulling the gun in an argument. Argument got heated.
Who was promoting that?
The kids in the community.
Oh, okay. Oh,
You
really?
know, really. The kids in the community. I grew up in Ida B. Wells, the Darrell homes, which is right there across the street from Ida B. Wells.
Yeah.
And so we had certain rules. I remember a guy on the basketball court getting ready to pull his gun, and 4 guys jumped him. Why? Because it was supposed to be a fist fight.
Okay.
And so I learned from that. But to get back to what we were talking about, the system says money. This is about money. Everything we do in America is about money.
Yes.
And the NRA says, I'm not going to give you any ammunition to stop the money from flowing. That's all it's about. I don't care who gets killed, whether it's 40 or 50 kids in a school, whether it's 10 or 12 people in a shopping mall, whether it's the police walking up behind a guy and shooting him in the back, or somebody running away. There's no threat when somebody's running away from you, but you shoot them 5 times. All of these things says it's about the money. And we, the people who vote, has to realize it's about the money. It's not about our lives.
When you say money, are you saying like
The sale of
the
guns.
manufacturers, right? Manufacturing of guns and this, that, and that kind of a deal.
Right.
Okay.
You tell me why you need a AK-47
Yeah.
on the streets of Portland
yeah,
as a civilian?
yeah.
Why do you need? That's a gun of war. You know, I learned to shoot one. You know, why do you need you when you say protecting your
Yeah.
rights? What does that mean? You know, when you talk about hunters, I'm all for hunters. I grew up in Natchez, Mississippi. You know, my dad used to take me hunting, so I understand hunting, but I also understand what kind of guns he had. He didn't need a 16 shooter
Shotgun, yeah, shotgun.
or a shotgun to go hunting.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to learn the BS in the statements that are being that are sent to us on guns. I mean, when there should be laws in the cities that says if you do a firearm, discharge a firearm in the streets of our city,
It's felony.
this is what you get
I got
for
you.
time.
Felony plus.
That'll stop some of it. You know, we can stop this because nobody, you know, I remember a movie where the saying was, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime.
I got you.
And so if it's criminal to shoot a gun in the city of Portland or the county of Clackamas or Washington, bingo. That'll stop some of this violence.
But why are we not doing? We elect people, and they've got that information. And we elect these people, and why aren't they coming up with these kinds of solutions aspect of it?
Well, there's no solutions being come up with. That's number
Well,
one.
it's already against the law to discharge a firearm in the city of Portland. They just don't
Who
enforce
was
it.
the last person? There you go. Who's the last person?
And what charge is it? I mean, is it a felony charge or what? Is it
Uh,
a felony?
It's
It's
a
a misdemeanor
misdemeanor.
or
but
a
that-
violation.
But that's what
It's-
Bob is coming.
yeah.
Bob said, no, put some meat behind that,
Right.
that law. See what I'm saying? Got me?
Well, the deal is, when I was with the Portland Parks, they had a program run through the county called ACS, Alternative Community Service. And so these people, rather than paying a fine or doing some time, would come do some work
Some community
around
work.
the city. And and the amazing thing is, for a lot of them, I got them out doing projects in the parks and stuff like that, had actually never done a physical job that you had to see a result. You know, like if they were washing dishes or sweeping floors, that's not the same as, say, they went and redid a park trail or something, or they've even put a new park trail in, or really did something that they could
Yeah,
look.
but what
because-
about the guns? Let's
Yeah.
put the guns in there.
Okay, but the thing is, on the gun things, this really got hot and going when they raped the police department, because they just lost a bunch of police officers at the early part of this month, and they're having a real rough time getting replacements. It's suddenly going into law enforcement is not that attractive, either through money or the
I don't want to
status.
intervene again, but Bob made a point about the guns. Let's stick with the guns aspect.
Okay. Well, you haven't mentioned AK-47s. If you look at the AK-47s and the AR-15s,
AR-15s.
there are shooting clubs where you actually have military-style shootings, just like the matches. Remember when you went to qualify at the range? They're doing the same kind of thing. And so you also have people that are doing their quasi military training, and those people, you never see them get in trouble.
Yeah, but John, hold on for a minute. Now I'm familiar with naturally AR-15s, and I'm familiar with all of the biggies. I was overseas. I spent my time in Nam aspect of it. But the bottom line, we wasn't motivated and promoted to basically go and buy that same weapon once we got statewide when we got out of the military. We wasn't basically out there as you say, the firing range out there shooting those kind of weapons. We might have been shooting shotguns, or something of that nature, but there was no such thing during my particular time in the military. But so I'm just saying, is that but when they started promoting that aspect, it wasn't the kind of a gun where you checked out when you were on the firing range, let's say
You took it downtown.
Yeah, no, you went out and you were able to buy that particular gun, and those folks weren't going to the firing range. Or better than that, the other thing is that once people start looking at that, and the promotion that we have on the tube and this, that, and the other marketing aspect of it, those young people are saying, well, gee whiz, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? They're looking at people buying those things at the stores and whatever, and guess whose houses are they breaking in? You can get an AR-15 any day of the week on the streets.
Yeah.
And they're not going down to the firing range to find them. those kids are using those deals, young people and older people. I mean, you know, and then we're in inflation. We got all kinds of problems aspect of it. People want to eat and they're robbing and all kinds of stuff. But the gun thing is a major issue. And I'm just saying, that's why I'm saying, I know your background with reference to gun, so I'm just saying, the NRA is a key component. They should be talking about things that you're talking about.
Safety,
They
responsibility,
they got to come to the table and talk about those things. But otherwise, we got problems.
Yeah. Well, the deal is in my military career, I started with an M1 rifle and also an M1 carbine, an M2 carbine, and then with the M14 and the M16, and you know, and I like firearms a lot, but you know, when it comes to the AR-15 M16 type, I don't care for it. So that's why I didn't buy it, and that's why a lot of people who come out of service didn't buy AR-15s.
But now, let me think, man. Now you in the Guard, right?
I was in the
So
Guard.
consequently, when you went to when you in the Guard aspect of it, you went to the firing range. You checked the weapon out,
Yes.
and then you checked it back in.
Yes.
You didn't take it home with you.
No.
Okay, all
I
right.
could have bought one, but I didn't buy one.
But that's what I'm saying. So we've lost that piece. That's what I'm wondering. It's out on the street now, and the person is not a guardsman to get the training. They're not a full-time person, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. And the only person that can really talk to that big time is the NRA, but they basically is about the money.
right? And the other part of this is with those long range shooting guns.
Yes. Oh, geez.
Okay, you don't have to. I don't have to face you. I can stand over across the street on the top of the building and wait for you to come out the
Yes,
door.
yes.
You know why? Because of something you said that I dislike. Why? Because I just got a bug in my butt today, and I'm gonna go into school, and I don't know any of these people, and I'm gonna shoot up the school.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm white and I'm black and you're white, and all the white people are in Lake Oswego going to the store, and they get better deals than we do over in the black community. So I'm going over there and shoot them. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to get close to you. I don't have to know the true issues.
That's the long gun.
It's the long gun.
Yeah.
So that's a war gun.
Yep.
It was made so that when you were at war, you didn't have to get close to your enemy. You could shoot from afar.
They call those snipers and the others.
That's it. So now, why do we need that on the streets of the cities?
Answer, John.
Don't,
Give
and
it to
the
him.
other thing is giving these people the notoriety. In fact, when I was running for office one time, and I was in there at the Willamette Week, and I said, "You need to ignore these people," and they scream, "You know, censorship." I said, "No, we're not talking about censorship. You give a short paragraph on who this clown is, but the rest of the time you talk
About the
about
victim.
him as being the accused or the perpetrator, the lowlife. We need to vilify those people."
Yeah, but John, but in all due respect, the law's on the books that protect that person. What do you do about that?
What about about not talking
No,
about
what you're talking about with reference to this, the newspaper you did said it. I'm saying there are laws on the books that protects that person to have that gun. I mean,
That's-
a lawyer
that's
will
true.
come up there and go before the judge and talk about it. Next thing you know, the guy might get a probation or whatever, and he's released. You know, and go back and get another gun.
Yeah, and the fact is, these people that are not supposed to have firearms, they go out there and they get them, and they get caught, and they don't get
Time.
sentenced because you're a felon in possession of a firearm. I believe the sentence is 5 years, either federal or state.
And that's my
And
point.
they're not
And
they're
that-
not enforcing the law.
And that's my point is that, but one of the largest lobbying forces for guns in this country, in this world, is the NRA.
Yes,
And they should be the one that basically take that lead.
Right. They don't. This is a business. People need to
Bob keeps
understand
coming,
that the NRA
We got
is a
that-
business.
We got that point.
And
But it's-
they are protecting their business.
Yeah.
I
And
understand
they-
what they are doing.
I understand.
I don't agree with
I
it,
understand.
but I totally understand it.
And all I'm trying to do is encouraging you
Right.
to understand that we got a problem.
Right.
Well, they encourage the fact of enforcing the laws. You talk to them because
Yeah,
they
but-
put it in
but-
everything about enforcing
Where?
laws.
No, where, John? We've been trying to get them on the
Yeah,
stage. here.
where?
How long, John?
Well, all
Where,
I
John?
know is that, and I've been to the meetings and all the time.
Oh, you got to go to the meeting in order to get the information? John, this is a national worldwide organization that have not demonstrated responsibility in the items that they promote. That's plain and simple. And the responsibility for them should be, hey, we want you to own our gun, but we want you to be responsible
Yes.
as you own our gun. And they should, and I agree with
And
the
lobby
country.
on the- lobby
I'm
the
not,
books.
I'm not saying that someone should be able to walk in my house and take my gun, but I am saying they should make sure that I registered it so that when I do something wrong with it, they know where to come.
It's out of the case, and then
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you
That
buy,
I agree
you
with
legally buy
100%.
a gun anywhere in Oregon, you now go through a background check.
Yes, you do.
Unless the only exception is close family members. But the deal is, the gun show loophole is closed, and
Oh, no, not
the
yet.
boyfriend law is closed, and the deal is the anti-firearms, anti-freedom folks still saying gun show and boyfriend and all that stuff, and people and the press keeps repeating that lie.
But check
time
this
after
out.
time.
But check this out. Who do you think will be listening to that communication at this point in time? I'd say 75% or 80% of the people don't even they don't even look at the news.
They don't even know what the
They
NRA
don't even know what
is.
the NRA. They don't even know what the politicians are all about, whatever. So the kids, that the only way you got to get an entity like you said, like someone that has an interest, their money aspect of it. If you can get the NRA to be involved in it, then they'll really get out there and promote this piece. Get it back into the school system.
Right.
The educational system, all kinds of. Anyway,
Yeah.
we spent quite a bit of time on that piece. We could spend 2
been
days,
two more shows.
2 more shows on this piece.
well,
We're going to jump on some other things now.
Yeah.
So-
well, the NRA had the Eddie the Eagle program that they sent out to the schools, and a lot of them, like Portland Public Schools, wouldn't adopt it. So it was put out there to them to pick it up, and all they had to do was pick it up.
Well, lobbying is one thing, and then just BSing is another one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But and the other thing is,
I hear what you're saying.
there are a lot of people, they don't listen. They don't read the newspapers. They don't watch the news.
No.
They don't
Right.
listen
They don't
to
have
the
to.
news.
There's no law to say
They're-
that.
They are in a fog.
Well,
Well, my thing
how do
is,
you get to them, John? That's the key.
there was a rule when I was going to school that said, you say it, you repeat it. No, you read it, you say it, you repeat it. Repeat it. Don't send a notice to the schools one time and think you've done your job.
Yeah.
That's crap. And I saw when I was with Yosemite Perkins at the, he was the chair of Urban League.
Right. Perkins,
And he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago. We instantly had this
Yeah, they-
thing,
they
and
get that
we were
background.
shocked at how Portland is run. That's why he did. One of the reasons he
Well,
didn't
they tried to
stay.
get rid of it.
He didn't. He says this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, we have Congress and others that now come through, our elected officials that come through, say it once and never do it. Repeat it once, never do it. Lie to us, we don't call them on it. And I can talk to one lie that we're going to talk about at another show. But this is what gets
we are
me.
now. It's a business now.
And then when we look at these candidates, these three candidates, Tina Kotek, anti-policing. What does that mean? She's saying, hey, we should get rid of the police force because that's what the people out there is being fed.
Right.
And that's not what it meant. So we need to talk. If we're going to say things, we need to explain things. Anti-firearms. What does that mean? Does it mean that I'm taking your gun? No. Register that darn thing. Be responsible with it. Have to go through a class in order to do it. I went to Clackamas when I bought my last gun, and I went in to see what it cost. The class is $230. Most people don't have $230, but they have enough to buy a firearm and some $300 Nike Jordans. So responsibility. That's supposed to be a part of it. I could go on and on. You talk about Betsy Johnson. Betsy Johnson was a Democrat. She left the Democratic Party before the election. Why? So she could run as an independent because she knew she couldn't get elected as a Democrat. She couldn't beat she couldn't get through the firefight. Why couldn't she get through it? Because of the things she believed in and the people that support her.
Right,
And
right.
I'll give you just a quick example because it's right here. This little thing here
Oh yeah,
gives you
that's
everything.
The Bible. That's the Bible.
In just the first month after announcing her campaign to become governor of Oregon, Betsy Johnson received over $2 million in donations from corporations and billionaire Republicans.
Well,
Now, this is a past
Nike. They got
Democrat.
Nike. Make sure you got
And then
Nike.
it goes down and tell you who. See, they don't just make a statement, they tell you who. Fossil fuels and mining. You know, where we've been fighting against and trying to get other type of fuels and so forth going, 400,000. Logging industry, including Hampton Lumber, the People Group, Paula TV, and Sierra Pacific Forest Products, 400,000. Billionaire Republicans, $1 million, including Phil Knight and multinational conglomerate Koch Industries. Okay, why does the NRA love Bessie Johnson? Rated 100% by the National Rifle Association in 2020. Rated 100% by the Oregon Firearms Federation in 2020. Bessie Johnson of Oregon's Gun Control voted no on prohibiting weapons on school grounds. Voted no on requiring background checks for firearm sales. You got to know who you're dealing with. Voted no on allowing courts to prohibit suicidal individuals from owning a gun. Now that's a woman I want protecting me? I don't think so. Voted no on prohibit convicted stalkers from possessing a firearm. I'm stalking you with a gun. How stupid are we to be voting someone like this or supporting someone like this? You know why we end up doing it? Because we have people that we love and respect presenting them to us. I bet you they're not presenting this. That's why I'm against her.
Supposedly they are because you're reading it from something that everybody's carrying.
Right. This is right here by the Oregonian. Why is Bessie Johnson called an Oregon Republican? Johnson and Roban are the only Democrats in Oregon Senate who have accepted campaign contributions from Koch Industry. You know, who is Koch? What were they against? Look them up. That's all you have to do. It's all right here. It'll change your mind on people that you think respect you. God, I don't want a kid walking down the street with a gun at 12 years old thinking that, hey, if somebody says something wrong to me, I'm going to shoot him. Or go into a party at 16 and you step on his shoes and he shoots you. I was there in the 80s and in the 90s, in early 2000s when this was going on.
Yeah.
I was working, and when we brought in what's the house? House of Emotion.
How's emotion? Right?
They
Remember
came
that?
to the unions. I was there. I understood what was going on, and this does not help. We are going backwards. You know, we reached this plateau, and then we go backwards. I.e., we take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And if you do that throughout life, you know where you end up? Behind where you started. My dad was in the steel mills. And in the steel mills, he worked on the floor pulling that hot steel out of the furnace. When it was mostly black people on that floor and Italians. And when they modernized and they got to where the chains were pulling that out,
Right.
he still had to beat that steel into form.
Right.
Well, blacks began to complain because the white Italians and others were being moved upstairs away from that heat to pull the steel. So what happens? Eventually, they moved those people into the main office, brought some blacks upstairs, and then what did they do? Modernized it to where you don't need black people to run the computer or run the chains. They got it all computerized. Who lost their jobs? And then over the long haul, what happened? They found out steel was cheaper coming from China and other
Yeah, yeah,
parts of the
yeah,
world,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they closed down steel mills.
Everything, right, that's right.
We have to know our history.
Yes, yes.
And if we don't know our history, we are destined to repeat it.
Well,
I say this over and over
but,
again.
But still, when you say history, the legislature, politicians basically say, no, we can't be talking about history anymore.
Right. What-
That's really the bad part. And when I joined the NRA in I think '83 and the Oregon State Shooting Association, and I became the president of the Oregon State Shooting Association, and I testified before the Oregon State Legislature in '87, '89, and '91, and so the subject come up about these mentally ill people with firearms, and they. And so I was asking about it, and he says, "Well, you got to know who the big gorilla in the room is. The gorilla in the room on that is the mental health industrial complex. Because when you wanted to make changes on that, they and their phalanx of lawyers would come forth and say confidentiality, 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 and so they are protected by this organization, and they have over the years gained strength. And every time you have something going on someplace, they come out and they have their people drawing money from the cities and counties and school districts. And the thing is,
to fight you.
that's right. And the thing is, and the deal is, see, if you're kind of poor, they'll kind of get a cure for you fairly soon. But if you've got a lot of money, they're going to milk it to the end, and they're going to get a lot of your money, and it's going to take a long time to cure you.
You made that point about the money, and Bob brought it up there first.
Oh, yeah.
It's a business now,
Right.
And we need to sit it on the table and talk about the business. Don't you think we've gotten to the point now? If we've got over 600 million weapons out on the street in this country,
Right.
firearms on the street in this country, we got a problem.
And how many of them are registered?
Oh, gee whiz, maybe none.
Yeah. I mean, a country like Japan, who has laws against firearms, and have had excellent, deterrent, and then a ex-prime minister gets shot, not with a firearm that this person bought, but with what? A firearm that this person made.
Yeah. Made. That's right.
Made.
Nowadays we're made with no
And so-
serial numbers now.
Yeah. So
Plastic,
now,
made out
if you
plastic.
want to go on a plane with a firearm,
Take
make
plastic.
one.
Yeah, out of
because
plastic.
it's plastic.
Yeah.
It won't be detected. We got to come up with a better method.
But my point
You
is
know?
that this discussion, like I said, in all due respect, when you got this big pot of money sitting up on the side, I mean, this big pot of money
Oh.
could solve this overnight if they said, okay, fine, we're not going to do this, this, and that. But the money, it's about the money. You're
Right.
right. And too often we don't want, I mean, I think that's a good term to get to the mass of the people. It's about money.
Right. And you want to talk about money? Pro-choice is about money.
Yeah.
People don't understand. I was born and was old enough to understand it when pro-choice became a thing. As long I was in Mississippi, and Miss Ann, if you could go in the back alley, she'd put the hanger in you and shake it around in there and knock that fetus
That's right.
fetus out,
Wow.
and you go home
Wow.
and bleed to death.
Wow.
Okay, I was around then. I watched as nothing was done. And then little white girls became
Doing the same
the
thing.
subject. They did it, and about 3 or 4 of them died within 3 or 4 months of each other. And bingo, it became a thing. And thus, we get doctors can administer abortions. So now what it is that money is going to that from the coffer. And these Republicans looked at it and they was like, how do we stop paying for these people to have sex, get pregnant, and then we abort the child, abort the fetus? Okay, how do we stop that? Well, the churches caught on, and the churches was against abortion. Life is life, and all of that. And so the Republicans saw an opportunity to what? Get more votes.
Well, one of the things before they legalized the thing, the people with connections actually a lot of these young girls are having DNCs, dilation and curlies or whatever it is, uh, which is really were abortions. In fact, a lot of them, these young women have a little trouble, so they're taken into the doctor, and the doctor talks to them, to the parents, and anyway, they have this operation, and a lot of these young women were pregnant and had an abortion and never knew that they were pregnant in the first place.
Right.
And when this severe restrictions on abortion comes out, the DNCs of young people will go back up. And that's the hidden thing that they really, if you go back and check the number of DNCs back in the old days, and basically DNCs were for women 35 on up generally, but all of a sudden there was a lot of teenage girls getting DNCs, and these gals were pregnant and got an abortion and never knew they were pregnant in the first place, and this is going to happen again. And also, some of these highfalutin people says, "Oh, got knocked up, to hell with you," and they get knocked up and they'd go to Denmark or someplace on vacation.
Okay. Okay, let's get into
Can I
that.
give one last thing?
Real quick,
Not
sure,
off of
go
that,
on.
and that's
Make sure we
on
get
gun
there.
control.
Okay.
I can't remember the year that Congress passed a law on on large magazines.
94,
94. And then in 2000, in
204.
204, that sundowned.
Yeah.
That law, and they never put it back on the books. But for that 10 years, murders and gun violence went down. You know, don't we ever learn? I'll leave it at that.
Columbine happened during that shadow, and the guys went in there, and they just had a lot of magazines for quick reload, and that's how that happened there. And then, of course, this thing that happened at the school when those police stood around, you know, that violated that training about you show up, they're in, you go in.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were trained for a situation of that nature.
Oh yeah,
The
it was
city
big time,
police.
big time.
The city police?
All of them. It is part of police training nowadays since the Columbine deal. And the deal is, if we were reserve deputies or reserve cops, and when that was going on, because of our military training, we'd go in. Might be
Yeah.
scared shitless, but the deal is,
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
go in.
And with all the armor and protection and everything else, all he had to do was show any sign of force, and he would have been dead. You know, and that's the thing. I look at the city of Portland downtown. I mean, it looked like a demilitarized zone there for a while. And why did that happen? Because people were not allowed to protect their property. But I went downtown not too long ago. Well, in December.
City of Portland, right?
The city of Portland. It looked like a little tent city, except for one area. It was a block and a half, maybe 2 blocks. But this company has security. Hired security. Nobody sleeps on the sidewalk around that building, and there's no problems.
But why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they allowing the business? And
Why aren't the police enforcing it?
No, but still is the city. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a bureau. There's a
Yeah.
bureau just like anyone else,
Right.
so to speak. And the mayor runs that bureau.
Right.
You know what I mean? So why didn't the mayor just say, okay, fine, this is what we're going to do, and we're gonna
The
have
backlash.
you can hire not just police department, but you can hire outside security. That's what a lot of folks
He
are
don't have to give you that right.
No, but I'm just saying he can't because
Yeah.
they got the big pot of money that basically they're giving to businesses for certain things like breaking the glasses and
Right.
this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. So why couldn't they have just basically hired more security?
Who's thinking?
Well, but the people who basically put them in there, right?
They're not thinking. They're just we're like sheep. If somebody put a bell around their neck, around the other person's neck, and we go following, we don't do no research. We don't look for any reason why to. We just accept, and we need to get away from that. I don't blame any city commissioner, any county commissioner for the things that are going on. I blame us. We elect those people, and we think our job is done. The job is not done just because you vote
Bob,
for
it
them.
gets down to the money again, because if you got the money, you can get elected.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
it goes back to the money.
and
piece
so
again.
we need to change that.
That's right.
I don't know. I think one billionaire like Coates and Nike, they can give as much money as they want. That's one vote. I don't have to give anything, neither of us. That's 3 votes. Why don't we think that? But no, oh, they're giving them money, so it must be. Instead of just
Yeah, but a lot of
open,
times that money is given to other entities
yeah, through other
to buy
entities.
votes. Yeah, to buy votes indirectly. Because that's another. I'm throwing that out on the table also too. You get back to the 3 women that are running for office. You talked a bit about the whole issue of Betsy and what she's doing and who she represents and whatever. It's my understanding there's going to be a kind of a major event here in the black community.
Oh, you mean the community with roaches?
The community with roaches at Jefferson High School.
Yeah.
I.e. the black, and it's
That's
not a
considered
black,
a black
and
school,
It's
and
not a
it's
black
not
school.
anymore.
No, it's not a black school anymore.
No.
People talking about it's 50-50. No way. Got me. But the bottom line is that, and this is just some information I've gotten. Maybe someone else might have had it. Again, going back to the same situation, just trying to find out who's who. But the bottom line is that it's my understanding that you got some of the historical politicians, and Margaret Carter and Lou Frederick and Abel and those folks are all going to be attending to talk to. I guess Betsy is going to be there doing her thing, and again that's been another issue with reference to blacks are always targeted from the standpoint that with gang members and this that and the other, but that's not the case. When I look at TV and I see those people downtown clad in black, those are they got black uniforms on.
Yeah. Well, it's like see, I watch
What do
different.
we do about this piece with the
Antifa?
Well,
What do you think about that?
about the schools.
Yeah, about basically them having an affair like that,
Well-
and blacks supporting it.
Well, you have a right to support whomever you want. I got in trouble as the chair of the Black Caucus of the Democratic Party in the state of Oregon because I went against a Democratic senator who supported a Republican, and I learned from that. I don't want to cause anyone to be my enemy.
Okay.
Especially when we fight for 95% of the same thing,
Right.
and that 5% was wrong. You know, thank goodness that the Republican lost, and it became national news, and that really was something, that kind of hurt me, and we didn't speak for years, and then we finally ran into each other, and we talked, and we got over that.
Okay.
I don't want to go back there.
I got you.
I believe that anyone should have the right to support anyone they feel they want to.
Okay.
But I also believe that if I don't support them, or you don't support them, or someone else doesn't support them, they have the right to say why.
Right.
Like I've done today as to why I don't support Bessie Johnson. She is more things that I'm against than 4 things that I support.
Okay.
That's
fair. That's
and
fair.
so that's what we have to look at.
fair.
No one's going to be 100%. I can never say I've
No,
never
the
done anything
only
wrong.
point I was making is that when blacks are i.e. elected to office, they tend to represent all blacks, and I don't fall in that category. Now, but my point is that that's basically the way they look at blacks per
Yeah.
se, and that's what I was throwing this thing on the table. About
That's because
these are key responsible individuals,
Right.
and I'm trying to figure out they were elected to office.
Well, they become friends doing the same job. That's like being on the job. You can be the only black person there, but some of the white people and the Mexicans and the Asians and Chinese who work there become your associates. Because I say they're not your friend, they're your associate. I want to know how many times have you been invited to my house or I've been invited to yours. That's what friends do. Associates get together during certain times to support each other on certain issues. And so we need to learn that. And if they're supporting this person on these issues, talk about these things and find out where they are and know where you are. Now, if black people say, hey, everybody should have a gun in the community and they should be walking down the street with this gun at 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, let's go support Betsy. If they say that, where she stands on abortion rights or where she stands on the police and where she stands on the National Guard and all these things is right, Go support Betsy.
But at the same time, you got to give her the opportunity to articulate
Right.
her definition.
But you have to ask
of
the
support.
question, or she's not going to give it to
no,
you.
No, but still, I'm saying, just like you made the point about, like you said about the various associates,
Right.
whatever, give them out there, and right up front. That's one of the things that we have here.
Opportunity to discuss.
Discuss it, and we'd like to have all three of those candidates to come here and sit down and talk.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or if not that, they can come on.
No,
here
they
and do it.
run. They run from someone that want to spout the truth
Right,
or
right.
ask the hard question,
Yeah.
and that's what you get here.
Yeah.
Is the truth
Yeah,
and the
that's
hard
true. Oh,
question.
yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
I went to when I was running for governor.
Be brief now, because we got about 6 minutes here.
Okay, we were there, and there was 9 out of 15 of us up
Yeah.
there. And what I liked is that they asked the question, and everybody got a chance. Went down there, then the next question started. The next person went down, and so everybody had a chance to answer the same question. You go to a lot of these places, and you've got say 3, 4 candidates, and the moderators, especially like the Oregonian and some of those, they just talk to 2 or 3 of them, not the whole show.
Well, in all due respect, you know what that's all about.
Time.
It's
I
already
know
fixed
that.
to begin with.
Well, it's time too. You think about this. If you have 9 people sitting on a stage, and each one of them is supposed to answer this question, you give them 2 minutes, that's 18 minutes. Okay? The next question, that's 18 minutes. That's 36 minutes, right? So in 4 questions, you spend over an hour.
Well, you got too
And
many
you got these
candidates.
people that have to go to work.
You got too many candidates.
But it's fair. It was fair.
Yeah. It's fair. Fair is time.
fair.
You know,
And some of those other candidates had some stuff that was real interesting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is the thing, and somebody says, Bob Whelan, he doesn't stand a chance. Well, the deal is, say we were running for office, we stick our necks out there and we put our platforms out there, and the deal is, we're guys that want to do things.
Right.
We want to solve problems.
Right.
Rather than being kicking the can down the road, and this is where we get a lot of bad legislation from the knee jerkers or us. Something comes up and they flip something out and figure it's all done, and it never gets enforced or never gets implemented.
Politics.
and my thing is, see, what most people don't understand about politicians, when you're running, you say one thing.
That's right.
When you get elected, you do something
That's
else.
right. And those are the,
And why-
those are the true politicians.
Yeah. and so the other side of that is, the question for them is, how do you get a number of the people that's going to be sitting next to you or across the aisle from you to support these things?
Right.
That's a simple question. How do you see yourself getting them to support
Well, a
these
lot of
issues?
times the way you do it is that you read, like I said, you read the media in terms of
And you follow what the media
what
say.
the media says.
Yeah.
That's your vote. And
That's
then,
correct.
In fact, and then don't go out and say nothing else. Just
Right.
put your name on what they said.
See, I like the politics of the 60s.
Yeah, one thing now is that's really good is that they in the primary they have one voter's pamphlet, because they used to have 2 of them, Democrat and Republican. So you can take the primary voter's pamphlet and compare it to the general voter's pamphlet and see how that candidate has changed their tune.
Right.
And of course, the thing is, the limit is 325 words, and
Yeah.
you have 8 mandatory words.
Right,
But that gives you an idea. And then, like you say, once they get elected, then they do something else, especially get back in Congress that says, go along to get along.
That's the politician. Got to keep getting that meal. That
Yes, that's it. I look at Clackamas County and I go, wow, it's going to be a heck of a race for the state, for a representative out there, and it's going to be interesting to see how.
Who's the chair of the Clackamas County?
I
Judy?
wish.
What's his name? Tootie. Is it?
Tootie, no, that's Tootie is the Clackamas County Commissioners.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the state the representative for Clackamas
Oh, I
County
got you, okay.
to Congress.
Oh yeah.
He
that's right.
lost.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to get we got 2 ladies running against each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
As you say, it's the era of the women.
That's right.
And so you got to listen to what these people say.
Yeah, all right.
I went to one of them. I haven't been invited to one. I was invited to this one, and I went. I walked in the room. I was the only black person there. You know, and my question was, how do you get black people involved to the point that they don't only look at you as a white person, but listen to you as a person that intends to try and do something that will help their life?
Right.
Because what is politicians' job? No, I'd like to ask someone.
How did
that.
how did they react to that?
Oh, she was very
Who was this
good.
now? Who was this?
Is it Smith?
Is that the one that beat the guy that was there
Yeah.
already? Okay,
Right.
yeah, she's pretty outgoingish.
Yes.
pretty
And
sharp.
she says, "I'll come to this show." She when I told her that that I was on this show, I co-host the show sometimes. She said, "I'll come because I want everybody in Oregon to know where I stand,
Oh, interesting.
not just the people
Good
I'm
job,
elected
Bob.
to
Good
represent."
job, Bob. Bring it on.
You know, and so these are the things that we have to get people to stop just being one issue. A one issue voter is a dumb voter. You know, I've said it since the beginning, since the 1980s when Jesse Jackson ran, and I'll say it again. A one issue voter is a dumb voter.
Okay. On that particular note, like I said, we got about 2 minutes now, and boy, this has been very interesting. We had so much to be talking about, but maybe we'll just come in next week and just take it from that point.
Okay.
Got me? So hopefully the viewers out there are doing some of the same things that we're doing. You know, get your neighbors. You know, sit around at a table. You know, have some coffee and talk about these. It's very important. These are very important times right now. We
Don't
got some very
argue
serious
the
things.
issue.
That's right.
Talk the issue.
the issues and make sure, like I said, whatever the issue is there in the solution.
Right.
Talk to what are the problems. Like I said, read the newspaper. They'll tell you, and then you address that because that's another means of promoting and getting your words out.
And if you don't want to read the newspaper, just pick up your phone
Yeah,
and,
pick up the
type
phone.
it in.
Can't afford a phone, listen to the radio.
Yes,
We
yes.
got all kinds of stuff going on right here. But this has been a pleasure. Okay, all right, guys. And I guess there's one other piece on the whole issue of race. We've been following something, we haven't talked about it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Who we are. That's a very interesting piece. Check that out. That's a very powerful piece. But if you Google it on YouTube, who we are, you'll get this guy named Jeffrey Robinson. Okay, Jeffrey Robinson. But who we are. It's all about race aspect of it. And if you want to look at the movie, it's on Netflix.
Right.
It's about an hour and 17 minutes. We're going to be discussing it, but it'd be a good deal. We're just throwing it out to you. Maybe that'd be something you might want to do just on the side aspect of it. But they'll say, so like I said, be serious this time. We got some very serious issues that we're faced with at this point in time. But we're going to get through it. This is the USA. Trust
That's
me.
it.
USA. You're not going to get shot if you've got an opinion, one way or the other. That's your opinion, no problem. But please, get involved. Get involved and do be more responsible because we need you at the table,
Right.
especially now. Again, as Bruce Broussard, there's Bob Williams. Thank you, Bob, for being with us. Appreciate that. John, thank
My
you
pleasure.
very much. It's going to be a great deal. And I'm Bruce Broussard. And hopefully you will join us next week and we will continue this conversation and we might be able to touch the whole issue of race for a moment because it's a major issue.
Oh, yeah.
And people have constantly been looking at the needle in the haystack. It's been a needle in the haystack since Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to do something about that. So thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Take care and stay cool.